This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 157. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
So, last week we screwed up.
What?
We failed to catch a topic that we intended to talk about, but didn't actually talk about.
Oh, yes.
Right. So, Kodra.
I thought you were going to say something serious, like maybe we cut off 2/3 of the show or something.
No, not that I know of. I mean, nobody told me. It's happened before. It has actually happened where I uploaded a partially encoded file, and then I had to scramble to get it to, replace it, and had to contact Libsyn support to get them to repush everything to all the other things. That's happened before. I know how to fix it. But yeah, so, Kodra, you're going to talk about drafting Amonkhet in Magic Online.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of drafting Amonkhet, and, when I say Magic Online, it probably applies to paper Magic drafts as well, but I'm really interested in sort of how the meta is shaping out right now. So in Amonkhet, there are basically 10 decks, one for each of the color pairs. So you've got blue-white, white-green, white-red, white-black, blue-green, blue-red, blue-black, green-red, green-black, and then red-black. And especially in Amonkhet, all of those decks have their own unique theme. And I feel like the theme comes through a lot stronger in some decks than others. And I've had a decent amount of success with some versus others. What I have noticed is everyone really likes green-black. And as a result,
I like green-black.
Green-black is way overdrafted right now. Even when I get an awesome opening green-black rare, I pick it up and then nothing comes my way because everyone is trying to play the green-black deck. And this deck works is it's all based around creatures that put -1/-1 counters on each other, or creatures that creatures that are ridiculously big and then have a downside when they come into play. So one of the marquees is there's a 4/5 for 3 mana, which is huge. But when it comes into play, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature. So you either have to shrink it to be a 2/3, or you have to find another creature that you're going to shunt those -1/-1 counters off to. And then there's also creatures that give you benefits when they die, so they're good targets to put -1/-1 counters on. It's a deck that is very popular, and I've never been able to draft it. It's too overdrafted. If you see it is open in your draft pod, absolutely go into it. I think it's very strong. Especially the key signal I've heard is if you see a Decimator Beetle get passed to you, that's a pretty good indication that you can go into it. And Decimator Beetle is a green-black gold card that when you attack, you remove a -1/-1 counter from your creature and put a -1/-1 counter on your opponent's creature. So
that sounds like that would work very well with that deck, the way you described it.
It's pretty great. But what I have found I really liked, which it doesn't seem like a lot of people are playing yet, is green-blue.
Well, you like blue quite a lot anyway.
I mean...
I think that's me that likes blue quite a lot, or wants to like blue quite a lot.
You would probably like the blue-red deck in Amonkhet Draft, which is a recently they've been trying to do a lot more with blue-red as a generic archetype for all of their sets, where it's a deck where spells matter.
I mean,
you want to be casting instants and sorceries rather than just try and build the board with creatures.
that sounds like the way I wish I could play Magic.
Yeah. And so like you have a lot of relevant spells, and then creatures that have this creature does something based on how many spells you have in your graveyard. So like as you cast more spells, these creatures get more and more powerful effects. So there's a creature that is like, it's a 6/5 creature that costs 2 blue and 6 colorless, and it costs 1 colorless less for every spell, every instant or sorcery in your graveyard. So you might be able to play a 6/5 for 2, and that's really powerful. You keep all of your mana open for a bunch of really effective draw spells. And that's made even more effective by the fact that both red, all of the colors really, but especially blue, has a lot of cards with cycling in them, which lets you pay a cost, discard them, and draw a card. So you can easily put cards into your spells with cycling into your graveyard. But green-blue is all about getting a ridiculous amount of mana. It's the fast mana deck. So you've got your standard like tap to add 1 mana. You've got, which is the Naga Vitalist. It costs 2. Tap to add 1 mana that your lands can produce. Essentially, you've got the Weaver of Currents, which allows you to tap it to get 2 colorless mana, and that's a blue-green gold card. You've got the Vizier of Tumbling Sands, which he can tap to untap target permanent you control, which can be one of your powerful creatures that you attack with, or it could just be a land to ramp yourself out. And then with that deck, there's a lot of really, really expensive blue and like 7 mana blue and green spells with a really powerful effects. Like Lake Flame might be the best uncommon in the entire set. It's just 2 blue, 5 colorless, take control of target permanent. I mean, it's mind control, only 3 mana more expensive, and that's still really good for mind control.
Well, and it works. Sounds like it works on everything, not just creatures.
Actually, I'd have to check. I think you're right. I think it is just anything.
Any permanent.
So 5 mana for that seems reasonable.
Well, 7 mana.
Oh, if you have 5, okay, yeah.
2 blue, 5 colorless.
Is there, out of curiosity, has there been a Magic card, and it seems like it would be a blue card, that's, because you have me thinking with take control of target permanent. Is there like target spell is countered, now you cast that spell?
Swerve, I think it is. Yes.
Okay. It seemed like a mechanic that probably would have existed.
Actually, I think it's a redirect.
Swerve is just change the target of target spell with a single target.
Yeah, redirect is you may choose new targets for target spell. So swerve is actually less good because it has to be a single target. Redirect will let you choose all targets.
Swerve is also blue-red, and redirect is blue-blue.
But yeah, that's especially funny because some of the biggest I'm pretty sure the funniest is redirecting a Sphinx's Revelation, because it's like target player gains X life and draws X cards. So you redirect that and say, I want that. I get all of them cards.
But it's interesting to me that now there are like not just viable decks, but like specific feelings for decks for color combinations that back in the olden days were color combinations that just didn't really exist.
I mean, they are still classified as enemy or allied colors, but
yeah,
they do definitely. So like every single color combination has its own guild from the Ravnica set. And so they've sort of started giving them their own feeling. And then Amonkhet, blue-green is all about just getting a whole bunch of mana out there and playing cards that can end the game for a whole bunch of mana. And the one that I see people pass way too often in draft is Sandworm's Convergence. It's an 8 mana rare, but if you play it, you, like, unless they have a enchantment removal in their deck, you end the game. It's creatures with flying your opponent control cannot attack. At each end step, you create a 5/5 Sandworm.
Oh.
Okay.
It is, like, I have had so many games where I resolve that card and my opponent concedes. Like, he doesn't even want to try to play through that. Special mention for the blue-green deck is Approach of the Seventh Sun. This is actually a special mention for a couple of decks. It's a white card, and it's a rare, and people pass it around. But it is costs 1 white and 6 colorless. When you play it, you gain 7 life. If it's the first time you've played it, you put it back into your library, 7 cards from the top. If it's the second time you've played it, you win the game. So in a deck with a moderate amount of ramp and a moderate amount of card draw, which blue-green is good at both of those, it's also pretty reasonable to splash white and win with Approach of the Second Sun. I guess I should also mention that this set feels a lot slower. Despite having some decks that are pretty powerful, you seem to have enough time to really build up to some slow control-y decks. And that's why I'm really digging on blue-green a lot. And I'm not a fan of some of the, like, I have played a lot of white-green now, which is a more standard aggro deck, and I've never been really happy with it. Just because I find that I get stalled out, and then I don't have the engine to try and win a late game battle, and I just lose in the end. That said, I do love red-green, which is also a pretty fast deck, but it also has a pretty high top end of power level. Red-green is all about exerting creatures. Exert is a new mechanic. When you tap a creature, you can exert it, which means it doesn't untap on your next untap step, and it gets a buff while it's attacking. So it's all about turning cards sideways and giving them special powers while they are attacking. And green,
turning them extra sideways.
So, like, that's the weird thing about this set is there are a lot of cards that are just, like, you can do some really strong things. Like, I have one of the cards that gets seen a lot is a 2-drop for red that attacks as a 3/3 trampler, or a 2-drop for green or 2-drop for white that attacks as a 3/3 flyer. That's really powerful. Yeah. I actually really like the white-blue exert deck. I've not gotten to play with it, but I've seen it in action. It's very funny because if you can get the Vizier of the Tumbling Sands, which allows you to untap creatures, exerted creatures don't untap during your next untap step, but if Vizier untaps them, they can keep attacking as exerted creatures.
Good old Twiddle.
Yeah.
/ IC manipulator. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. They effectively reprinted IC Manipulator. Which,
it's one of those cards.
It's not been reprinted in forever.
I think the last time it was reprinted was...
Well, I brought it back in, I think, Ice Age.
Ice Age, yeah.
Yeah, but that's like 20 years ago.
I know, but Ice Age still seems recent to me, which is sad and basically just pegs my age.
Yep.
No,
that was when I was playing. I think Visions was the last set that I picked up cards from.
Weatherlight was the last set that I really played seriously during.
So there is a card that is Edifice of Authority. I've yet to find a deck that this doesn't go into. It costs 3 colorless, and you can spend 1 colorless and tap it, and target creature can't attack this turn, put a brick counter on Edifice of Authority. Brick counters build up the edifice. Once you have 3 brick counters on it, you can pay 1 mana, tap it, and until your next turn, target creature cannot attack, block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Which, It doesn't tap the creature down, but it's almost even better. That card is bonkers in limited. I have seen so many people try and play the white-red deck, which seems to be a really aggressive deck. It's not great, I don't think. I've also seen a lot of people try and play the black-red deck, and I have myself tried to play the black-red deck, which is also a very aggressive deck and is all about discarding, getting empty-handed and sometimes discarding cards. I don't think that's good because cards are too valuable in draft. I will say blue-black, if you can open Drakehaven, it's worth playing because that's so much fun. Drakehaven is when you cycle or discard a card, you can pay 1 to create a 2/2 flying Drake creature. So you play Drakehaven and then just an entire deck worth of cyclers and flood the skies with 2/2 flying Drakes. And always have cards in hand. It's amazing. There's a couple of other cards in blue and black that give you special bonuses if you cycle or discard a card. And that blue-black cycles matters deck is very fun. And the only other deck I think I haven't really talked about is the white-black, which is all about zombies. It's a zombies tribal deck, which is really bizarre, but it is absolutely a draft deck, and a lot of people seem to love it. And it's never been undrafted enough for me to play it, and I've only ever seen middling versions of that deck. But it's possible to get a deck with a lot of zombies in it, and if you can get some Lords of Accursed, which say all of your zombies get +1/+1, that's really powerful. Or a Liliana's Mastery, which says all of your zombies get +1/+1. I am continually impressed with Wizards' ability to design sets that do interesting things with draft. I would say if you are new to Magic and you're wanting to try this out, look up some more details on some of the archetypes and try and draft one of those archetypes for yourself. Like, see what rare you get. The rares are incredibly powerful. There's not a whole lot of removal in this set. But this set especially, you get to feel like you're doing some really cool stuff when you're playing Magic.
So the big question that I want to know is how expensive is drafting on Magic the Gathering Online?
So it is about $12 to draft.
Okay.
That said, I have not had that bad of a problem because you can sell your cards to online vendors, and because it is so cheap to host a buy bot, there's a lot of competition for prices, and the margins between the sell price and the buy price are pretty small. So you can get a lot for your digital cards, and then they will give you like in-game currency that you can use to then go draft again.
So once you buy in initially, it's kind of a perpetuating cycle that you can just keep up with selling your cards?
I have yet to put money into the Amonkhet cycle. I think I'm going to very soon, though. I had a string of bad runs where I didn't really earn any prize support, so I'm pretty low on packs and points now. But I should see if there's any cards I have that are worth selling. Maybe I'll find I got a $20 mythic in one of those pulls, and I'll just go sell that and then keep drafting.
I'm not built to do that. Like, I'm too much of a collector. Because, like, I know, for example, in Heart of Stone, I could disenchant all of the decks that I'm never likely going to play, and then take that to build what I actually care about. But, like, I'm never going to play a Druid, for example. I just don't like the way that mechanic works. But I can't bring myself to eat all of my Druid cards to buff the Hunter deck, which I do play. It's like, my fear is, like, that's a cool idea, but, like, I don't think I could actually bring myself to sell the cards back to the buy bots. Unless I had 4 of them.
That's the thing is, like, I I don't play Standard, and I don't think I will.
Yeah, I'm sure Standard is not the easiest thing to break into.
It's actually not terrible, especially right now. There's a rather cheap Standard deck after that Pro Tour. I mean, I might be wrong. They might have, like, all of the cards involved in that might have skyrocketed in price. It's very likely. But there is a mono black deck at the top of the Standard pile right now. Whenever you have a monocolored deck at the top of the Standard pile, it's probably pretty cheap because land are almost always the most expensive part of a deck.
To get the right flavor of dual lands.
Yeah, just to have the right balance of dual lands is typically the most expensive part of any deck. Whereas having a deck that requires you to have 22 swamps in it is typically not bad. Currently, Zombies is at the top of the game. It's a deck with a single zombie that is a 2-1 for 1 that comes back to life if you run out of cards in your hand, and then like 4 cards that do stupid stuff based on zombies coming into play, or if you have zombies in your graveyard. It's a really, really synergistic Zombies Matters deck.
But it sounds like modern Magic would be something I would probably enjoy, because like back in the day, I used to care more about building theme decks than I did winning.
I mean, and it's interesting because I kind of think you would enjoy it more, but some of the themes are very mechanical in Draft. Like, to be very good to build good decks, there's typically got to be a mechanical underwriting theme that works.
Yeah.
So, like, just jamming a deck full of zombies isn't a great deck. This deck is so good because there are so many low-cost cards that are incredibly powerful and make every other zombie that much more powerful.
Well, I mean, like, back in the day, I used to build, like, goblin decks with, a Goblin King and a couple of Blood Moons and, stuff to buff said goblins. Or, undead decks. And I loved, zombie master decks.
I mean, you should check out the current zombie deck. It's pretty sweet. By the way, if you have those Blood Moons, they are worth a lot now.
Oh, yeah, I probably have 6 of them.
Well, actually, I don't know if they're still worth a lot. They used to be worth a lot when they were, like, the only answer to Splinter Twin.
Like, there's a lot of cards that used to be common as shit that are now expensive, I'm sure. Like Fork. Fork was such a weird card.
Played in hardly anything. Yeah, that's another great card from the past.
Like, for ages, I could never figure out why Fork was in the red deck.
It does seem like a blue card, doesn't it?
Yeah, except for, like, it's kind of the red's version of a counterspell.
Yeah.
Like, instead of actually countering, they're just going to do the same thing back. Like, I played Fork that way a lot. So, like, oh, you're going to Stream of Life yourself. Okay, I'll take that health, too.
There are a lot of cool, like, manipulate what your spells do now cards out there. I mean, they've had to make so many cards, they have to keep coming up with new things for them to do. It's really interesting to watch.
Well, and the whole, this card but this only lasts so long. They have to keep coming up with new ideas.
Well, that's the thing, is that they keep reprinting they don't reprint Counterspell. They keep reprinting Cancel, but just slightly different versions of Cancel. They keep, but they're always themed with what works in the set.
Do they still have the habitual red one nuke that was in, like, every set?
Not always.
Like, it was the more expensive lightning bolt?
No, like, apparently that got to be too good.
Yeah.
Really?
They got rid of lightning bolt. Like, yeah.
Well, I know, like, lightning bolt was gone, but then they started making the same card, but it was red one instead of red.
It was like Spark, I think.
Well, there was a bunch of them that were like that same basic card, but like I remember one of them was like lightning bolt, but you could divide the 3 points of damage any way you want, or lightning bolt, but it can only target certain things.
So eventually there was Incinerate, and Incinerate became a staple, which was Incinerate deals 3 damage to target creature. creature cannot regenerate when dealt damage.
It was the mini disintegrate. Yeah,
and it's 1 and a red, and that was deemed too good. Like, you know what? You know what? Lightning Bolt, but 1 more mana is still too good.
Right, it's still Lightning Bolt.
Well, especially when it disintegrates.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, especially in draft, that was still considered, and not even draft, in standard, that was still a perfectly fine rate. There is a red spell that deals 3 damage when it comes into play, and it's the current Trial of Zeal, and it costs red and 2 colorless, and that's still fine. Like, that card is still absolutely a top pick in draft. Also, it's a trial, so it's really strong.
So when you're saying colorless, are you meaning colorless or of any color?
Of any color.
Okay. Like, because, I mean,
generic is the right term now.
Okay. Yeah, because that threw me for a loop when they created the set that actually had colorless as a thing.
Yeah, the return of the Eldrazi. The return to Zendikar, Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. Did some... They introduced new colorless required creatures, and also broke Modern for a while.
Well, it sounds like the Magic discussion has wound down a bit. Like, every time you talk about it, it makes me want to go play, but I don't. Like, I should. Like, I taught Ray how to play for a period of time, but...
It's very fun.
Like, I wonder if there's anybody at work that plays Magic, other than Ray, who doesn't really anymore. We've had this weird resurgence of geek culture because of the video game room.
How's that going?
So far, pretty good. Like, I don't have time to go over there. Like, that's the sad thing, is like, I was the one who set everything up, but I'm not getting to use it because I'm busy. But for the most part, there's a large number of people that are going there on a daily basis, and it's not people I expected. So I think mission accomplished. I mean, I've got to figure out ways to wean them off of Wii Bowling and replace that with something else. Like, basically, it's Mario Kart and Wii Bowling are the 2 things that are in heavy rotation.
Sounds like what Mario I expected.
Kart.
Yeah. Like, I've got Smash Brothers up there, but, like, nobody plays Smash Brothers.
Maybe hold the tournament.
We're trying to think of what the next tournament's going to be. Like, we did a bowling tournament, and it went pretty well. Like, we had 8 teams of 4. Which I was shocked that we had that much of a turnout. I keep thinking I'll bring Breath of the Wild up there and, play, but, the room is kind of always in use, so... So, a big chunk of my week was either anticipating the Destiny 2 announcement or, living off of the hype of the Destiny 2 announcement.
I'll be completely honest. I still haven't actually watched that trailer.
Really?
Really?
I watched the first 20 seconds or so of it.
Man, I have so many feels. Just saying. I
was working when it came out.
I know.
So, the trailer is really well produced. And if I felt any attachment at all to any of those characters, I would probably be more excited about it.
Yeah,
but I don't even know who they are. They're just like disembodied personalities.
I can tell you about each and every one of them.
I know, because you have not rejected their terrible scheme. Grimoire Card's the stupidest bullshit imaginable. Like, maybe there's a good story there, but it doesn't matter because that's a terrible delivery system.
And I guess, like, on some level, the fact that it is an obtuse delivery system has made me want to go dig more.
I mean, we talked a little bit about this the other day, but, like, I actually do like when there's interesting pull content. When there's, like, interesting little hidden things to find. Assassin's Creed does this super, super well. Especially the earlier games, where they would hide, like, little hints, almost like an ARG, in the game that you could then go out of the game and find out more stuff about if you were so inclined. And I thought that was really cool. But I thought it was really cool because I actually cared about any of it because the game made me care about it within the game itself. And I feel like I'd be really into the Destiny Grimoire cards if they'd ever given me a hook in the game that made me care about anything.
Right. And they really didn't do that until Taken King.
I don't think they did that even in Taken King.
Yeah, but you've not played enough of Taken King.
I've played everything that Taken King has.
You've played the main storyline.
That should be enough.
If I can play through the entire main storyline of a game and not have any hooks into what is interesting about the game, there's a problem.
I guess.
Because if honestly, if they had hooked me at any point, like even once, there's enough aesthetically cool stuff about that game that I would have gone so deep into it. But like it was like a ball bearing. It's just this smooth, polished, inaccessible thing. I have no idea who any of the characters were.
I mean, I gotta admit, at this point, I picked up Destiny this week because some other friends and I were looking at the idea of finding something to play online together, and there's 3 of us, and that would work really well with Destiny.
Yeah.
And I've played a little bit now at this point. The point that I'm playing a hunter, and I've met Cade 6, who is apparently like the hunter leader or whatever, and this is Robot Nathan Fillion.
He doesn't
and
do
I
anything
don't
in the game's first
care
main
about
story
it at all because he hasn't said anything remotely interesting
and he won't until the Taken King. None of them
for the entirety of the original game.
None of them really have personalities until the second game.
He's this dude that gives me a cloak every time I come back to the tower.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the thing that gets me is that they don't there's no personalities until like a little bit of Taken King and then Rise of Iron. But then when they get personalities, they get a complete personality all of a sudden, as if you're just like, and they're like super buddy with you, like they know you really well, but like I don't know who this person is. It's like we go from 0 to full-fledged personality.
Yeah, and to some extent you get some of that in year 1, but it's not until the super deep in the weeds stuff. Like stuff you would have had to have done an achievement to unlock, and now you've got a sequence of quests that are associated with it, and where a lot of them used to be was that you would get so one of the things that changed vastly between year 1 and year 2 is all of the exotics used to be quest based. So like you would get a chance that you would get a bounty that was actually to track down and figure out how to get an exotic weapon. And there was certain interaction during those that fleshed out the NPCs a bit more. Now those are all just kind of drops, and that's like one of the things that I think that I kind of liked the way that the exotics were in year 1, if only because they were this interesting sequence of events that you went and did. Now there are exotics in year 2 and 3 that are that, where you like I've got one that is this long drawn out quest chain to get basically a modern version of the Stranger's Rifle, which is the thing that you get at the end of the main storyline. That was a fairly unique looking weapon. But it took me a long time to get there. Like, I had to do a specific mission, and I had to go get some stuff in that mission, and then that finally unlocked a quest chain that I could then talk to some NPCs, and honestly, like, that aspect of the game reminds me a lot of EverQuest, where you kind of have to know who to talk to and what you had to have done before that point.
Yeah.
And to someone who isn't extremely integrated with the community, that might as well just not exist. Because where you're going to find out about it is people that have crawled every inch of the Grimoire cards looking for clues.
Yeah.
And happen to notice something in a mission that, was a code, and then that code was then used for something else.
And for me, the thing that gets me interested in like looking into a game's community is the game presenting me with something that I find compelling or is an interesting hook or something. And so it kind of like, it's like we spin back to that, like where's the hook that makes me care enough to start this deep dive.
Well, and honestly, like, the hook for me was this is the best feeling shooter I've ever played.
Yeah.
Like, that was my hook. And from that point on, I knew I was interested in the game. And then, like, I wanted to know what the hell's going on the moon. What's up with these hive people? What are they doing?
I was so excited about Destiny for like the first 2 hours I played it. Because I was like, the gunplay feels really cool. There's these hints of like character progression and being able to do other interesting things. But like fundamentally, hour 40 is the same as hour 2. And it really lost me because I didn't feel like any of the choices that I could make were meaningful. It was sort of like, I'm gonna use the best weapon that the game will drop for me, or use a weapon I like that's super underpowered for whatever I'm doing, depending on how I'm feeling, and like sometimes punctuate that with special abilities.
Yeah, and I think that's we talked about this during the week, and like I think that's fundamentally where the disconnect is this is always going to be a game about gunplay. Like it's interesting gunplay, or at least I feel it's interesting gunplay. But like that's what it is. It's a shooter. Like it's a really good shooter, but it's a shooter. Yeah, it's a shooter that'll occasionally let you use space magic.
Yeah, and I guess I've played a whole bunch of games at this point that are just a shooter, but they're doing enough other interesting things with either movement or non-gun abilities or the guns themselves being very different or what have you, that I'm just not impressed by even a very tight just shooter. Because like Destiny doesn't really have terribly compelling movement. It doesn't really have it, like all of its guns. The guns feel different, but they're all like shooting bullets.
Yeah, and like here's where we disagree on this, because like I feel like all the guns feel vastly different.
They feel different for guns that shoot bullets.
Yeah, but there's guns that shoot things other than bullets.
Rocket launcher?
No, I mean like there's like guns that shoot lasers and shit. Like it's not just always bullets. I mean, I did a quest today to get, the precursor for a weapon called Necrochasm, which fires like little bolts of energy. Like insanely fast bolts of energy, but little bolts of energy.
Yeah, I don't know. The impression that I've got from you talking about it is that like some of this stuff does exist, but it's so deep in the game that you have to drop huge amounts of time, or know somebody who can unlock the secrets for you to actually access it. And that's true. A terrible game experience for me.
Yeah. Early on, it does not feel like there's a lot to explore. There's not a lot of casual exploration either.
And by early on, I mean through the entire leveling process.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like the weapons don't really get interesting until you start getting purple ones.
Yeah.
Even the purple ones, there's no growl spike thrower in Destiny.
Yeah. And I guess I just expect better from Bungie, because as much as I don't enjoy the gameplay of Halo, it's had really interesting weapons from the start.
See, and like my key problem with Halo is that I think there's a handful of weapons that I'm interested in using, and they're all the ones that are, the Spartan weapons that shoot bullets, and then there's a whole pile of hot garbage that I never want to touch.
And what I feel like Destiny could let you do is you could use those weapons and I could use the ones that I find interesting. But instead it doesn't and only has the one kind. Like, I don't think that Destiny should have fewer bullet weapons because I think it's got a really good spread. I'm just bored by just that spread because I feel like it's a really thin slice of the pie. Like, I don't think that it should have less of that. I just think that it's not a very... That doesn't actually have a lot of breadth compared to most of its contemporaries. I mean, even ignoring Borderlands, which is like even Borderlands has like basic shooting weapons, but they have this very interesting and multifaceted elemental combo system. So you like think about weapons in a completely different way, which you may or may not like, but even not looking at Borderlands, like Titanfall has mostly guns that shoot bullets with the occasional like one-off, and you can kind of focus on those one-offs And then it punctuates all of that with really, really, really fast-paced, good-feeling, in-depth movement. And I feel like, I don't know, I played the Warlock. The Warlock jump feels like garbage.
Yes, it does.
And like, that's the single defining trait of the Warlock that you get to use most of the time, and like, it's sort of bad if that feels like garbage. But I upgraded it to the one that looked really cool, and it's even more garbage.
The blink one?
Yes. Like, that blink is the worst feeling blink I've ever seen in a video game. I don't want to play, like this is the class that that should be my thing. Like, gun mage, yeah. But it just felt awful.
Yeah, and I still think, based on the things that you like to do, Hunter is a much better fit.
Yeah, but then instead of casting spells, I'm getting a James Bond gun.
Well, this is true.
Or
I mean, like a flaming revolver.
Yeah, like that doesn't excite.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the window dressing of your player's fantasy aside, the Hunter is the thing that's doing the things that you normally like in games, have interesting movement and have weird little gimmicks that they can do.
Yeah, and I guess that's where my tentative interest in Destiny 2 lies. Is I feel like with a fresh start in a new game, they might actually bother to introduce characters or give me story hooks that I care about.
Well, and to be honest, like, Warlord Dawnblade looks like something that you would enjoy.
I don't know what that is, but...
Warlock. They introduced a new Warlock tree.
Yeah, it's...
Okay.
They decided the Firewind should be something that people actually notice what it's doing.
Yeah, you get crazy flaming sword.
I mean...
That sounds more my thing than his thing.
Yeah, but maybe.
Like, you were talking about how you kind of wanted a melee class, and that's kind of the melee class.
But that's going to be a super, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess this is the thing, like, you can totally build around using your super really fast. I did it all day today. Like, I've got a achievement that I'm trying to get.
If you get all of the high-end gear, you can't do it. I have a max level Warlock. I can't do the thing that you're describing.
Yeah, I mean, it's keyed off of a specific weapon that Xur is selling this week, for example.
Yes. So it is keyed off of getting a particular weapon and set of gear randomly that may or may not be a weapon that I actually like to use, and sort of jury rigging this experience. But, like, that should just be a core experience. I should be able to hit the button and say, this is the game, this is the way I want to play this game, not have to jump through hoops to sort of imitate as close as I can get the experience that I want. That's what I mean by when I say that Destiny doesn't have the breadth of play experience that I want.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's ever not going to be a game where you are mostly shooting guns and occasionally doing space magic.
And that's why I have some hope for Destiny 2, because they might change that.
That seems kind of unlikely.
I think it's unlikely. But even if they don't, if they give me a story that I'm interested in, I could also attach to that.
I mean, I think they know they need the story now.
I should certainly hope so.
I mean, I think there were key players at Bungie that knew they needed the story originally.
Yeah.
It just kind of got uprooted at last minute.
Yeah. And that's why I say, like, I think that there's a lot of potential in Destiny, and I don't think Destiny 1 is going to ever be a game that I'm terribly interested in playing because there's too much baggage. But I'm tentatively interested in Destiny 2, partly because I prefer to play my shooters on a PC, but also because I think that it is close to being a game that I want to play, as opposed to being a game that I'm like, no, this isn't for me, and write it off.
Yeah.
And I think that my frustration lies with it being very close to a game I want to play, but not actually getting there in any of the key ways.
Well, one of the things that I think is going to be good about the Destiny 2 design is that, so one of the constructs in Destiny 1 is you have primary weapons and you have special weapons and you have heavy weapons, and never the three shall meet. Like, well,
mostly.
There are exotic versions of some of them that cross the fence. So, like, shotgun is a special weapon, but there's an exotic shotgun that's a primary weapon. But
exotic fusion rifle, it's a heavy weapon.
Right, but those are the exception and not the norm. And this time they decided to do kinetic ammo, energy ammo, and I don't remember what heavy's called. But basically, like, it's the ammo type that something uses instead of the type of weapon. So, like, you can
use a fusion rifle as a primary, maybe.
Absolutely, like that's what they're saying is that you can use. There's crossovers between these weapons, so like you can have an elemental hand cannon in your secondary slot, and a kinetic hand cannon in your primary slot if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and like that's interesting to me. Like that opens up the possibility of some really interesting gameplay options.
Like I think they had painted themselves into a corner with the design of these are special weapons, these are primary weapons.
Yeah, like this will allow somebody to be a primary sniper.
Maybe.
Or hey, I have a laser sniper and a kinetic, pistol or sidearm.
But so are the specials still going to be like the super limited ammo?
I don't know. Like I've not seen enough of the gameplay to really know.
That was the frustrating thing with special weapons, the secondary weapons.
Yeah, eventually I had to stop using fusion rifle because ammo for it was extremely limited.
Yeah,
you just don't have that many shots.
I think they eased up on that in the world. In PvP, it's like specials was still super limited.
I mean, I feel like that is the easiest change possible to make, which is you get ammo, you can get equal amounts of every kind of ammo, and different weapons consume that ammo at different rates. Like that's a super easy, and then you gin up a pretty looking UI to make it look like, if I use a pistol in my kinetic slot, I have a 10 round clip and 200 rounds. If I put a sniper rifle in that thing, I have a 1 round clip and 20 rounds, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I mean that's what they were trying to do in the current scheme with like sidearms, because they're basically a special slot hand cannon, but they never felt the same.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that I'm hearing is it sounds like snipers so far have been limited to the heavy slot, which I'm not sure what I think about that. Because there's multiple archetypes of snipers currently in the game. There's the one-shot kill type snipers, and I could see those being the quote-unquote heavy weapon. But like all of the ones that are faster rate of fire snipers, I'm hoping to see those in maybe even primary.
I mean, here's the thing, though. If we're talking, original Destiny throws too many enemies at you for a one-shot kill sniper to be hyper limited ammo.
I mean, that's why scout rifles were pretty good.
Yeah, because the scout rifle is still going to one-shot things and has a bunch more ammo. Sure, but you're precision killing with a sniper rifle too. I mean, maybe you're not, but I feel like a big part of the reason you're using it, I feel like a big part of the usage of sniper rifle, experience is precision shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that. Why else would you? If you just want to hit something really hard, use a rocket launcher instead. And some people do, and that's fine.
Well, like one of the weird things that was shown in the demo was like they had like a Gatling gun looking thing. And that was a primary weapon, or like a kinetic weapon.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like it was this really cool Gatling gun looking thing, and the barrel like glowed as it fired. So like I have a feeling they're gonna mix up what we think of as the 3 slots of weapons, because they've already kind of showed that.
You could also do other not that different Destiny mechanic that I would be very interested in is if you had a weapon that in the slot basically said anytime you collect ammo for this weapon type, it reduces your cooldown on whatever power. So I can use my powers more. Like that's an easy.
That would probably be an exotic though.
See, they already have that mechanic on helmets to where, like, if you pick up something, then like it increases the charge rate of your supers and.
The two things the two things that I want out of Destiny 2 are a comprehensible story from, like, with hooks from the word go, not whatever the current one has, and to not be constantly frustrated that I can't get the weapon I want to use. Like, give me some option to pursue the weapon that I want. Don't make me check once a week and hope that the right thing is available, or do random shit until maybe the weapon I want possibly drops, and I hope that it's an upgrade, because that is a terrible experience. And, like, Diablo gets a pass because the weapon that you like, most of the time the items and weapons that you're holding don't fundamentally change your moment-to-moment gameplay, except in extreme cases. But, like, in Destiny, those weapons that you're getting are your core experience. And so I hate auto rifles. And making me run around with an auto rifle is just shitty.
Yeah, and I love auto rifles.
Yeah, and so in loving auto rifles, if all you ever got were sniper rifles, you'd be annoyed. Or or whatever, or shotgun.
Scout rifle is the bane of my existence.
Yeah, like imagine if you were forced to use a scout rifle because that was what the story gave you for free, and thus the only reliable one.
Especially when I was leveling my character on the Xbox One, like, I had to use my share of scout rifles, and it wasn't the best thing in the world, but I kind of just pushed past it. Honestly, like, they have mechanics in right now that would be better if they weren't so limited. Like, right now, legendary marks is an okay idea, but they're too damn hard to get, like, when you're first starting off. I feel like you have basically two modes of the game to where you can't get them at all, and that's when you actually need them. And when you can get them, you end up just buying random shit every so often because you're capped.
Yeah, I mean, when I played last, I started to see that there were some things I could get for legendary marks that would be great, but I couldn't get them.
Because you didn't have the faction? Or you didn't have enough legendary marks?
I don't know. I didn't have enough legendary marks.
Yeah. Like, one of the things that they did recently that I actually really dig is that every week, all the vendors get new roles. So, like, there's been some interesting stuff that's just come to light because now it's getting a refresh every single week. But that's only really useful for the people that are swimming in legendary marks. Like, if they had made it to where you ran a quest every week, and then that quest could then, like, gave you a weapon token, and then you could buy any weapon you wanted with that weapon token. That would be a better experience, because then that would let people get a hand up in the game. So I'm hoping they do.
They actually wanted.
Right. Like, if you just get to pick one off the vendor.
Like, I never thought I'd say this, but I would have preferred a system in which I go farm a mob for a particular drop. And that, you've heard me rant about that. But, like, I'd prefer that to the Destiny system.
Yeah. I mean, and I've succeeded only because, like, I am far less turned off by grinding. Like, the weapon thing that I did today was, like, it is a rare chance to get this drop from any hive when you kill it, called Husk of the Pit. That is a white weapon that starts out with, like, minimal statistics, but it's got a note on it that says, like, what you do to raise it. So, like, the one I had meant I had to go kill knights. And if I killed knights with the weapon, it would gain a little bit of essence. And eventually I got enough to where I could buy that node, and it turned into a purple weapon. But, like, I had to kill 100 knights, which meant running around back and forth on the Dreadnought, killing just random stuff. And I enjoyed it.
I really did not like spending time on the Dreadnought.
Oh god, I love the Dreadnought. There's so much hidden stuff there.
I just didn't like the aesthetic of the place. I was like, this isn't what I find cool about the Destiny aesthetic. Like, cool space ruins, yes, but, like, I'm basically in a cave. Like a kind of greenish brown cave.
That little area, though, has more stuff hidden. Like, there's tunnels and things that you can unlock, and, like, stuff drops off one thing, then you use it on something else that unlocks another thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's got interesting mechanics. is just an awful place to sit around in. The my favorite part was the and that I feel like with a slightly different UI could have been great, was the take this gun, do some specific stuff with it, turn it in.
The blacksmith quests.
I don't know that they have.
Well, gunsmith quests.
Sure.
Yeah, they're for Raven something Raven number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever it was like, hey, do these. Here's a concrete thing for you to go do. Go do that thing, and if you do enough of this thing, you can pick a weapon.
Right. And that actually goes a little bit further. Like once you get to rank 3, you get a specific quest for a class legendary, and then once you get to rank 5, you get a quest for a unique class exotic.
Yeah, which is cool. I don't know I'm guessing that's a class slot item.
No, like it's a weapon. Like both of them are a weapon. Like as a warlock, you get a fusion rifle that takes on the elemental damage type of whatever last ability you used. It's probably the best fusion in the game. It's really fast firing. But fusion rifle is the thing, the railgun, the thing that charges up.
I know what it is. I just don't like using it. It's not
okay.
what I like.
No.
Downer that I don't get to choose the. I'm gonna get a legendary weapon that I don't get to pick.
And then the exotic is Talalik, which is a scout rifle, and its mechanic is if you happen to be sitting on a supercharge, it just becomes God mode.
So if I don't use my super, it gets better?
Yep. If you're not using your super, the weapon gets a buff.
That's awkward.
So as a wizard, if I get a weapon that gets better.
It's intended for Sunsingers.
Yep, it's for Sunsingers.
Okay.
Well, quite frankly, as a Sunsinger, I also find my super really useful. So, but people save it because it's also a self-res if you spec into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, honestly, the Titan ended up far better in that department, because, like, the legendary is a shotgun that stuns anything that comes into your bubble, if I remember correctly.
I mean, is it... Maybe it's just me that hears that and is like, so you're pigeonholing me even further into a specific way to play.
Yep. No, I hear that.
Like, I'm less excited about that, hearing that it's a specific thing designed for a specific playstyle, because I then feel forced to play that playstyle.
I mean, I agree. It would have been significantly better if they had given you, like, now here's a way to earn a Sunsinger weapon. Here's a way to earn a Stormcaller weapon. Here's a way to earn a Voidwalker? Is that what the Void one's called?
How about here's a way to get a hand cannon that I like that does things for my build? I mean, it's the rogues have to use daggers or swords problem again. Or, like, hope you like axes as a warrior.
I mean, thankfully I do, so.
Yeah, and it's like, it's great if the play style that it's reinforcing happens to be the one that you like. It's like, oh, this feels amazing. But if it's not, then congrats. Your one guaranteed nice weapon is useless to you. I don't know. I'm hoping that Destiny 2 addresses this breadth problem that they have, but it feels like it permeates really deeply.
Well, they have to walk this weird line with Destiny 2 to where, I mean, there's stuff that they can improve on, but they also have to make it still feel kind of like Destiny 1, in part because Destiny fans are an extremely rabid fan base.
I mean, yes, but I feel like if you're going to make a sequel and not just an expansion, you should probably have a good reason for it. Like, if they're not changing anything, then why didn't they just release whatever this content is as a sequel? Or as an expansion?
They've come out and said why. Because their previous engine that they used was extremely time-consuming to create content for, and they just couldn't churn out the content that they wanted to. Like, that's their answer. That's the reason why there's a Destiny 2. It's going to allow them to do the things that they wanted to do with Destiny 1, but didn't have the staff to keep throwing at the content.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible for them to create enough content that, okay, sure, if you do this thing, you get a Sunsinger fusion rifle that's really perfect for that build. And if you do this other thing, you get another weapon. Like, you could theoretically just solve the problem with brute force and have, hey, if you're a Voidwalker who likes hand cannons, this is your quest line.
I mean, I think it's telling the way that a lot of the content has come out, and it's like tweaked, or it's different versions of existing maps, attempting to make it feel fresh, but there's not a lot of new assets that have gone into the game over the expansions.
Yeah.
Like, there's been like maybe one new strike, but a whole bunch of reworked, to do different things or have different bosses, but like the assets of creating new maps seems to be the problem.
Yeah. Which, I thought running around on Earth in the Cosmodrome was like this aesthetically really cool thing. It was a space that I found interesting to run into, and then I explored it all and was done with it.
And that's the problem I've always had with Destiny is there's a lot of games that if you see something, you can go there. There are more spaces that are hinted at in Destiny than there are spaces that you can actually go to. And that's infuriating. Like, you hear about the last city on Earth and, based on Destiny itself, like what is it, the Tower? Because that's the only city that we can go to. We can go to the Tower.
It's a skybox.
Right, yeah. So, like, you can see the city in the distance, like, and it's this glorious, awesome-looking place. Or, like, when you do the stuff on Mars with the Vex, you, like, see these giant gardens. Like, why can't you go down there and explore them? So I'm hoping that's what they're going to do. They're going to give us, more area to go to.
Yeah. If I saw a first 10 minutes of Destiny 2 gameplay wherein they introduced a character to me and gave me some context, and then showed me a quest wherein I could choose the weapon I wanted at the end of it, I would probably pre-order Destiny 2 tonight. If I saw a thing that said, hey, this is the Warlock build that's mostly a spellcaster and your guns are kind of secondary, or the Hunter build where it's mostly melee, I would buy the Deluxe Edition.
One of the problems with the games I'm thinking of where you can do things like that is that they don't have PvP.
Overwatch?
Sure, but Overwatch is designed specifically with, you can't customize your Overwatch character.
It's true.
Overwatch is a kill box arena.
Also that.
What's Crucible, if not a kill box arena?
I mean, it is, but it isn't, I guess. I mean, like, you get control over your character. You're not playing Zavala, and you're not playing, Ikora Ray, or...
Overwatch is choose your character. I don't know. I feel like there are quite a few MMOs that have PvP and distinctive gameplay choices. I mean, hell, Call of Duty does it.
But I guess that's what's weird about this is, like, Crucible is literally the first quote-unquote MMO PvP other than Warhammer Online that I've really enjoyed and will actually play on my own. Like, I mean, I like, that's saying a lot. Like, I never play PvP in these games, but, like, I will happily queue for Crucible all the time. And I haven't quite figured out what makes it different. Like, I mean, Overwatch is okay, but I don't really enjoy Overwatch in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's okay for little bits, or like if I'm playing with people I know, but I wouldn't queue for that by myself. Whereas, like, I have no problem queuing for the Crucible. Now, I would never probably do Trials of Osiris, which is the more hardcore 3v3 duels, but that's got its own metagame that is, like, really weird. I mean, to some extent, like, the Crucible has a lot of metagame as well, but it feels more open and forgiving than I would imagine Trials would. Trials is a sort of...
Arena PvP versus Warzone.
Well, yeah, it's arena PvP, but, like, when you die, you don't respawn, unless one of your teammates goes over and brings you back up. And whoever drops all of the other players first wins. Like, best 3 of 3, or best out of 3. I mean, I have watched the opening mission in Destiny 2, and it is definitely more story-driven than any of the other missions.
I mean, I saw a little bit of gameplay from what little I saw of the Destiny 2 thing that had like, it looked like a mission with a whole bunch of expository chatter while you were fighting guys and like neat scripted sequences where actual characters came in and did stuff with you.
Right. Yeah. That's what's kind of happening that I can see.
And like, if that's the game, I'm interested.
I kind of hope that they build more interesting cutscenes into like or moments into your downtime between. So it doesn't feel like you're just wandering around a hub.
I mean, I think there's going to be a certain measure of like world building and like the whole Final Fantasy, but like Fallout 4 Sanctuary thing, except for like you're actually helping people, not just build this thing that you really don't have any like interest in doing. Because that was the only problem with like Fallout 4 and their base building mechanic is like you occasionally interacted with people, but mostly it was like, I'm just doing this to expand my reach in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine like you'll do stuff for, you know, Ikora Ray, or you'll do stuff for Amanda Holiday, which I realize are names that are meaningless unless you're already deep into the lore, but seeing a very tiny Amanda Holiday in one of the cinematics was awesome. Amanda Holiday being the person who controls the docks in the tower.
I met her. She was a lady.
Yeah.
Who I talked to, and that was it.
Yeah. Like a lot of the interaction that you have with her is during SRL. Because, you know, she had to promise the Vanguard that the Sparrow Racing League wouldn't interrupt, you know, the normal business of things. So instead of giving you Sparrow Racing League quests, she sends you out on other missions to prove that, you know, they can race the Sparrows and also, you know, keep, you know, saving the tower. I mean, I am needlessly hooked. I mean, so I'm just hoping that there's enough breadth in this game that other people can find what they want in it as well.
Yeah. Because I would love to dive deep in a Destiny-like game. I want it to be good.
Because, like, while I love the Tequila Mockingbird folks, Destiny would have been a much more memorable experience if I had gotten to take my normal group of people that I play these games with into it and not been kind of a odd man out looking for another group.
Yeah. And I wish that any of the times I'd come into it, I could have attached to it. But
right.
It was just like every time I went back, I would just be frustrated by what was essentially the game that was there.
Yeah. Well, and God, like I wish I could have somehow shown the raids to people.
Yeah, but those are like the end of the game things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But like they're really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, WildStar is really cool raids as well, and I didn't like the experience of leveling up in WildStar enough to get to them.
Right.
Like it's why that story is so important and why those early hooks are so important.
Well, and we were talking about this before we started recording tonight. Like, one of the things that hurts the hell out of this game is the first strike that you have to do as part of the story is the worst one. Like, it's hands down the most broken strike, and it still is.
It was my Ascalonian Catacombs moment.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a horrible strike.
I'm really not looking forward to this now.
They get so much better, but like,
Last
why?
Is okay. The second boss is the worst thing that game has.
Right, and the thing is that same boss appears so many other times, but it's not a pain in the ass anywhere else.
The first strike of what?
Destiny.
Oh,
giant tank.
Okay.
Like the giant bullet sponge tank that is unlike every other version of that tank in the game.
Are these the post-20 strikes, or is this like the initial...
Just the initial, like, level 8 strike.
Yeah, the very first one, if you're following the story. The one that I am at now.
It's still frustrating. Like, I've gone in there with 400 light and really good weapon build out, and it still takes forever.
Yeah. Is that by tank?
The walker. The fallen walker.
That may be a different thing that I'm thinking of then. But, yeah.
And the spider tank has a giant cannon on top that one-shots you. summon some ads so you can occasionally try to get some ammo back, is a giant bullet sponge.
I mean, I remember something kind of like that elsewhere that was like a big hulking bipedal monster thing that also
ogre.
It was real. I remember it being really big, and it was in a huge room with a balcony running around the top edge.
The mission moons. One of the missions on the moon, like I think the last one you do, has a giant ogre in it that's bipedal, shoots a lot of energy at you.
You basically just need not to get hit by it.
Yeah, I feel like this was. I know the ogre that you're talking about.
There's a strike that's like that too, and that ogre is like 3 times as big as any other ogre.
Okay, maybe that's the one I'm thinking.
Yeah, I forget what that one's called. Yeah, but the thing is like there's a handful of year 1 strikes that are still around, and they're all that way. And then in year 2 and year 3, the strikes got super interesting. And it's not even just year 1. It's basically like the vanilla content. Like the expansion strikes, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I have a thing say is like I have access to a bunch of strikes, but they all tell me like I don't have enough gear.
Like what is it? Prison of the Elders is an amazing experience, and that's a potentially casual experience. Like it's another randomized encounter, but it's fun.
So it's the Devil Walker that you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's awful? Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly just a pain in the butt, and it's like you'll run out of ammo.
Yeah. I mean, my memory was this is the top end of content that I was able to do. So I wasn't really geared for it. I certainly didn't overgear it because I was doing it because I needed gear.
Right.
And I mostly spent a lot of time running out of ammo and waiting for my grenade to recharge and throwing that at the thing over and over again.
Okay, so something everyone should know that is not obvious. If you run out of ammo, like legitimately completely out of ammo, after 10 seconds or so, you get some of every type back. This is a thing that would have been super handy to know back in the day. So like if you fire all your primary, all your secondary, all your heavy, you'll get refreshed.
Okay.
Like which is useful. Like there's been several times I've been in a situation where I was running out of ammo, so I just fired everything I had, knowing that at some point soon I would get some of each back. But that's not communicated at any point to the player. Like I only know this because someone told me. I mean, and to some extent that is the problem with Destiny. It's like things are not communicated well to the player.
Yeah. Like I definitely expected there to be more of a tutorial and And when I first got to the tower, I was supposed to find Cade 6. Let me tell you how long it took me to figure out where the hell Cade 6 was, because the little icon that up until that point was this is the direction to go for the thing that is your mission, was pointing off to a staircase to the side that when I went through it, once I made it through that little staircase, was then pointing back the way I came from.
Yeah.
And then you got a generic line.
Yeah, and I found Cade 6 and he was like, here, have a cloak.
Well, and part of what made that worse right now is once upon a time that area up top that it was pointing you to was only open once a month. Now it's open all the time. And I think it's wreaking havoc with the path sensor thing to tell you where you need to go. Because I've seen that happen to me before, until where like I had something to turn at Zavala, and it's telling me to go upstairs, not where Zavala's at. Yeah,
I went upstairs and I looked all around upstairs. And I found like holiday stuff and some dude wearing a mask and somebody who had like the different colors to apply to my armor, but no Cade 6.
I wish I knew who any of those people were, because they all speak to me like I'm supposed to know who they are. I think the only one that's ever spoken to me is the Keeper.
Is that the dude with the mask?
Speaker.
Yeah. Like the dude with the mask. The dude with the mask actually like explained to me that he
Bill Nighy
for the ping pong ball. It's like the travelers asleep, so I'm speaking for it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, sure.
I remember that. My entire understanding of the Destiny story is the speaker speaks for the big ping pong ball, who is important for some reason. That wizard came from the moon. And I don't have time anymore. And I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
That
Man.
unfortunately still is.
And all the monsters came and murdered everyone on Earth because of the giant ping pong ball.
Well, that's
Yes.
Yeah, that's 100% of that's 100% of my understanding of the Destiny story.
And apparently we were all dead until floating polygons woke us up.
Yes.
Yes.
They were blue people.
And they're kind of incompetent, I guess.
The blue people are incompetent?
No, the tiny polygons.
Yeah. Well,
Ghosts.
And there are blue people and robots because why not?
Yeah, because we need some character creation options.
yeah, and the thing is like, there's a lot of lore behind all of those things.
Probably.
Yeah,
There's
like
a whole bunch of Morrowind
I
fanfic,
could
too.
I could spend an entire show
That's a
just
little
telling you
far
stories
down.
about all of these things.
Okay. I'll clarify. There is a whole bunch of Morrowind fanfic written by the original source, too.
That's fair. Okay.
Well, and actually, so basically imagine if the only way to learn any of the backstory of Tamriel was the books that you can find throughout the Elder Scrolls games, but instead of actually being able to read the book in the game,
They're
just
all
you
made.
go to a website.
Yeah, but the website was
Yeah,
linked
that
to
would
your
be pretty
account.
shitty.
The website was linked to your account, and you could only read the books that you'd earned in game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can't even read all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
This is why I say it does not matter how good the storytelling is in those books. It does not count for Destiny's world building or story.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I can't defend. I mean, it's worked for me, but like, I apparently am in a weird zone to where it's worked for me. And honestly, like, a lot of what I know is because of the works of other people that have dug it up and pieced it together and then presented it into a coherent format.
There are definitely fandoms that have taken the original work and made it so much better through fanfic or through fan work.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't even fanfic. This is like piecing together all the fragments and putting them into something that makes sense.
Oh, and on top of that, when it directs you to that website is the wrong place to do this stuff. Because the app is like so much better. I like just downloaded it and went into it, and the Grimoire, like, I can actually tap on things and they just come up instead of
Yeah.
The Grimoire on the website is awful. Terrible.
The Bungie website is not the best thing in the world, but there is a plugin for Chrome called Destiny Item Manager that rides on top of Bungie.net, and it is amazing. I hope that the creator of that thing cares enough about Destiny 2 to make it for Destiny 2 as well.
I hope that Destiny 2 does not need it.
Yeah, that would be the better.
Like I'm okay with the video game's website being utter garbage because I shouldn't ever have to go to it.
Well, like, so, okay, Destiny Item Manager does a lot of stuff that, like, I wouldn't expect any company to do, but I want it.
I mean, Mog Station is pretty garbage as well, although it's a lot better than it used to be. But I only have to go there like once every 3 months at most.
Just often enough to have completely forgotten where anything is from the last time you were there.
Sure, but I only have to be there for like 10 minutes to like update my credit card info or whatever.
Like, Destiny has all this cool shit going on with their systems, but again, it's not messaged well. Like, through the app that you downloaded on your phone, Thalen, you can swap around all of your inventory while you're on a mission. You can check stuff in and out of your bank. If you forgot to grab something from the tower, you can go get it and it'll transfer into your inventory real time.
It is much faster to do this, by the way, than to actually go to the tower.
Yes.
Yes, because load times.
Yeah, like, so it's freaking amazing, like, the stuff that you can do.
You in the game.
I don't know.
It is.
I wonder.
In the tower.
Like, once again, why do I have to go to a unconnected app to do a thing that the game should just do?
It does, in the tower.
No, that's a completely different thing. Like, swapping my loadout in the middle of a mission is a really useful thing. There is no interface for me to do that. I have to drop out of the mission and go back to the tower. But, like...
You can do it via their website or the app, or...
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, yeah, that's dumb. why can't I hit a button and be like, oh, I forgot my rocket launcher in the bank and I need it for this mission. Now I have it. If I can just do it via an app.
See, that doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't know why.
I also don't know why. That should bother you.
I guess really should.
I guess you've never fought a boss that you didn't have the right weapon to fight?
I very rarely have to do that in the middle of a... Like,
I mean, if you know the mission, then yeah, you go into the mission prepared. But if it's a new mission, it's like, oh, well, now I'm fighting a tank, and I don't have a weapon to fight tanks. I guess I beat my head against this thing stupidly, or quit the mission and bring back a weapon that's actually good against tanks.
I may or may not carry one of every type that I care about with me into every mission. Like, I have kind of a Swiss Army knife approach to my inventory. So, like, I have one of everything I need. Like, so I have my favorite hand cannon and my favorite auto rifle and my favorite scout rifle, and I try and keep one of every weapon type in my inventory at all times. But, I mean, this is also something I do in MMOs in general and why I never have any bag space.
Yeah, I aggressively cull my active bag space so that I don't have to do inventory management on the fly.
Yeah, like back before the pets or the toys were a thing in WoW, I used to carry one of every engineer port and a deep dive helmet and basically everything that I could ever think I needed.
Nope. Carry what I think I need for where I'm going.
And to be fair, I also have like a full tool set in my car at all times, and jumper cables and a flashlight, and I think it's that Boy Scout be prepared thing.
I have the tools that I need to operate on my car in my car.
So in other things that are not Destiny.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 on Switch is a thing, apparently.
Mario Kart 8 on Switch is in fact a thing.
How different is it?
It's not. So, okay, that's not entirely true, but it's mostly true. There is a major difference for people who are not that good at the game. They added an option called Smart Steering. Smart Steering automatically steers you away from, like, the edges of the track or walls if you're about to run into them. It's not particularly fast, but it's better than, falling off of Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
The trade-off for this is that you can't use the third level of boost, which was just added for this game. But that's not a very large trade-off most of the time, because you have to either be in certain vehicles, or it's basically kind of a little hard to get that third level to boost in the first place.
It's pretty hard, yeah.
So did they fix my key annoyance with Mario Kart 8?
Which was?
That they have all of these interesting and customized tires and things like that, but when you're in the middle of a circuit, you can't swap them between tracks?
No.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little confused as to why they would fix that. You sort of pick your thing for the circuit.
Yeah, I know. It annoys me. Because there's only one track that's at all ever useful for, off-road tires.
I don't think any of the I feel like specializing in off-road is never actually a good idea.
That was sort of my thought, too.
But it looks cool.
It does look cool.
So the funny thing with the ATV tires is that they tend to be heavy, and for whatever reason, heavy in Mario Kart means high top speed. So that doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever, sure.
I don't know. To some extent, that's true of cars, because a big heavy engine. I mean, having big heavy wheels is not going to change your speed except to make it slower. But
the other thing was they added a few characters back that hadn't been in the series for a while. Like King Boo is back, and I don't think King Boo had been in since the GameCube one. Drybones is back, and I don't think he'd been in since the DS one. It also comes with all the DLC, so if you didn't have that for Mario Kart 8, then that's 16 tracks that are new to you.
Yeah, I booted it up and I was like, oh, that's a lot of circuits.
Yeah.
That I did not have before.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's especially fun on the Switch. Like, the Switch is a great piece of hardware. Actually, I like it, in some ways, I like it better than the 3DS. I also think it's hilarious. I kind of wish I had a regular Boo and not just King Boo, because I don't want the crown. But I think
the regular Boo is an item. That would just be weird.
It's fair. But there's something hilarious. There's something hilarious to me about Boo on a motorcycle.
I don't understand how any of that works.
That's what's amazing about it to me. Especially, I was commenting to Ash the other day, especially with some of the weird verisimilitude where, like, Rosalina will switch from her dress to, like, biking leathers to, like, ATV gear. depending on her vehicle, whereas Boo somehow operates a vehicle at all.
I feel like Boo driving anything is functionally the same as like a little kid pretending to drive something.
Yes.
Like the vehicle's just going on its own. Boo just happens to be hovering with it.
Yeah. I mean, Boo is mostly hanging on for dear life. It's not like he's connected to the thing in any way. He even moves sort of independently of it because he's floating around. It's really funny. I don't know. Boo is a Mario Kart character. I used to really like Shy Guy, but I think I like Boo more now. Shy Guy is still my jam, though.
One thing I noticed this past week, though, is like it seems like a lot more retailers are getting some Switches in stock. Because like Amazon had another batch that was available for at least a period of time. Walmart was selling both the gray and the blue and red. I want to say I saw that Toys R Us had some as well. I mean, these are all online retailers, but I mean, it feels like maybe some of the drought of units is lessening.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, I kind of expected this to coincide with Mario Kart 8, but like, it seems to have happened after that.
They're still crazy expensive on Amazon.
I still haven't seen one in store. I mean,
I haven't really looked in store.
Well, I mean, like every time I go to a store, I look just to see if I've seen one, but
I don't feel like I know what the Switch's price point is even supposed to be.
$299.
Retail is $300.
Yep. Okay.
It's like $299.98, I think.
I think it's at Walmart, yeah, because they have to have it 1 cent cheaper because Walmart.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah, Amazon Prime had the neon one for at least an hour a couple of days ago.
When I got mine, Amazon Prime had it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, by the time I found out about it, like I just wanted to go look and see, are there any still there? And they're still available. I was surprised.
I want to say though, like when I got my gray one through Amazon Prime, it was like $299.97. I have noticed that pretty much everyone now has the peripherals in stock.
The price
The controllers are no longer impossible to find, but they still cost $70 each.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a damn good controller though. Like,
it's true.
And it works as a PC controller out of the box without doing anything.
What?
Yeah, no, you hook it to your PC.
That just works.
It just works.
That's surprising.
Yeah, no, like it's amazing. I don't know, like that's amazingly forward thinking for Nintendo.
No, it's probably just a direct input controller.
Probably.
Like that didn't take a lot of forward thinking.
Well, and it goes back to what I like. I feel like the Switch as a whole is using a lot of protocols that are, either open or common.
You're referring to how your charge cables are not proprietary and instead USB Type-C?
Yes, and how the fact is it's supposedly built on Android.
That's news to me.
Yeah, that's what I have heard, and that's what one of the reverse engineering type sites has claimed is that it's built on Android, which I guess would make sense since the Tegra is kind of a stock chipset for Android a lot of times.
Yeah, it is that.
I don't know. I'm happy it's doing as well as it is. It's a great little console.
Yeah. I'm really excited to have games that I want to play on it.
I feel like it has a really high acceptance rate on games that are available right now because people are just snapping up whatever's available.
I do want to say that Mario Kart 8 is one of my favorite Mario Karts in a while because it does a thing where it doesn't feel like you can just get a easy win from hanging in the back, getting a powerful item, and launching to the front at the right time.
Yeah, I feel like the additional racers make a big difference in how that game feels, and I like it.
It doesn't feel nearly as random. I do think that actually, in a lot of ways, there's not enough punishment on the person in the front anymore, and the mid-ranks just feel like a chaotic mess.
I do feel like by a certain amount, like double item boxes and Deluxe changed that. Like, it brought those back from Double Dash.
Yeah, and I haven't played Mario Kart 8 for Switch. I'm just talking about my experience with the Wii U.
Yeah, like, you can reach the front with lightning or a blue shell, basically. But those things got a lot more common when, everyone can if they choose to, pick up 2 items at once. Also, for the person in second, red shells feel really, really common, and those also now reach all the way up to the front if you are in second.
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's a mechanic where if you're in last place, you're going to get mostly boosts.
Well, you're just going to get really powerful cards.
They've got
things like the infinite mushroom or like the bullet bill.
Yeah.
Or the ridiculous 8 item, which gives you one of like almost everything at once.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's fascinating to me how many indie games are dropping on Switch.
Yeah, a lot of indie games got announced for Switch because when they were announced for the Wii U and Nintendo said, hey, this thing is going away, they got announced for the Switch.
Leading to, Kickstarters having to tell people that, well, we're not going to have a Wii U version. We're going to have a Switch version instead.
Like Hollow Knight and not Castlevania, Bloodstained.
Yep. And people having, various reactions to that.
Some sensible, some not.
Well, I'm tempted to try out Fate Extella in the continuing series of we never thought this Arrogate was going to go anywhere.
I feel like most people don't actually know that about Fate Stay Night.
I mean, that's why I like to point it out. It's really funny to me.
That's fair. It is pretty funny.
Like, whoops, we did too much world building in our porn. Now people really want to know about the world we built. So I guess we'll make some not Arrogate content. And now that's the main thing.
So earlier before the show, Tam, you said you were playing a lot of Fire Emblem.
So I forget why, but I picked up Fire Emblem Heroes on my phone, and this afternoon played the entire battery of my phone. It's pretty neat. Like, it gave me an accessible entrance into Fire Emblem because I felt like when I picked it up on the DS, it overwhelmed me instantly with, hey, these are really important choices that you must make.
I feel like Awakening was actually a good entry into the series on the 3DS.
It might have been, but it was I don't know. I picked it up and I was like, I don't know what's going on here, and kind of checked out of it. But I want to pick it up again based on playing this one on my phone. Because it's this clever, like, it's in the tradition of mashup crossover, or not really crossover, but like series crossover games where it's like, hey, all of your favorite characters brought in as collectibles.
Yeah, you're like summoning heroes from all the different Fire Emblem worlds.
Yeah, get all your favorite heroes and then battle with them. In much the same way that like FF Exvius was. And unlike Squaresoft, Nintendo doesn't have a horrifically abusive cash shop. Like, it's not...
Wait, don't they?
It's about a midpoint in between Square and what I consider reasonable.
Okay.
Square's is pretty absurd, so...
Okay, sure.
Like, but also they give out as an example, in FF Mobius, which I've also played a lot of, it costs, if you want to get a new 3-star collectible usable thing ability, that is going to run you 3-star is pretty low on the totem, like it's a sort of low on the totem pole item. It's gonna run you about 2 weeks worth of currency, of like daily refreshing your currency, because you get 100 whatever a day, and it costs, I think, 1,500. It might be. I'm pretty sure it's 1,500. So 15 days gets you one potentially new card. I'm getting one currency. They have this sort of unified currency for everything, and I've gotten one of these currency per mission that I've done in the start, and that's been enough for me to collect like 30 some odd heroes and upgrade my castle a couple of times. And upgrading my castle gives me more XP. And then I get actually decent cards as opposed to garbage cards from doing missions. So it's like, okay, I've got I feel like I've gotten more without spending any money than I could have in Square games. And I feel like I don't need all that much more because I can just play the game. Like, I used the currency that the game gave me to buy a bunch of heroes, and my heroes are stupidly overpowered for all of the story missions that I'm doing, which feels pretty great because I can learn how to play the game without
that will eventually stop being the case, but
but by the time we get there, they'll have leveled up a bunch. But so it's it's kind of neat. I enjoy it.
Cool.
It's got a turn-based tactical RPG on my phone. I like turn-based tactical RPGs mostly. I don't think it has I don't think that it is also a fan shipping simulator the way that every other Fire Emblem game seems to be.
Only the ones after Awakening have been that. Awakening was definitely the start of Fire Emblem becoming that thing.
I mean, it's a pretty hilarious like side piece to a tactical RPG, or I think it's really funny. It does create some bizarre play incentives, but I mean, who didn't always want to play matchmaker with their units in Final Fantasy Tactics?
I didn't, mostly because I was playing Tactics Advance.
I mean, okay, fair. Fire Emblem is a weird game.
Yes.
And speaking of weird games,
I downloaded the Disgaea demo this week.
Oh man, Disgaea.
It's been a long time since I've played Disgaea. That's some weird stuff that you've let yourself in for.
So the weird thing about Disgaea is that I think I have not really made it a secret that I like systems games. I like games where you can get buried in nonsense for a while.
Oh,
and yet I have not played a Disgaea game before.
That does surprise me. I'm assuming that the basic you can go inside items and go through dungeons in the items to make the items better gameplay is still the big
I will admit that I checked out of Disgaea when I spent 3 hours leveling up a chocolate bar.
Yep. Yeah, I mean my past plays of Disgaea have been play in for a while and fall into a hole of just leveling items for hours and hours and hours, and then wondering what I've done with my life.
Yes, that was. I had a sudden flash of I've been leveling up a chocolate bar for literally this entire weekend. What am I doing with my life?
But on the other hand, Prinnies.
I did like.
I have a lot of experience with Prinnies because I played that PSP platformer.
I really enjoyed that PSP platformer.
It's a pretty great game, but
it was insane.
Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero? It's a platformer that gives you 1,000 lives. You have to go with 1,000 Prinnies, and if you get hit, you blow up.
Because Prinnies, yes.
Because Prinnies.
Yeah, Prinnies are like animate stuff.
You need those 1,000 lives. You can't get more.
Yeah, you need all of them.
This game is hard.
I think I still had like 300 or 400 left at the end when I beat it.
I think I had 200-ish.
But yeah, that was a weird game. But yes, I feel like if you can get past the essential strangeness of it, you would really, really enjoy Disgaea.
I mean, there is that. All the characters are like the most annoying parts of every anime at once.
Yes, it's a who's who of annoying anime characters. And it's a pretty diverse cast of annoying anime characters.
I don't know. Pick the demo. Demo's cool. I'll probably pick up the game when it releases this week.
Oh, yeah. So I'm curious, Ash. You really like systems games, right?
Yes.
Do the systems of CCGs not appeal to you, or do you avoid those intentionally?
Little from column A. So, yes, there is some amount of avoiding those intentionally.
I was curious.
I enjoyed Hex while I was playing it.
There are a lot of systems in CCGs, and tuning a deck seems like something up your alley.
Actually, I hate tuning a deck.
Oh, okay.
I think you probably hate tuning a deck for the same reason I do. Or in the same way I do.
Yes. Sort of.
Is it because you're interacting with the same systems over and over and over when you're playing a deck like that?
Not so much. It's more that, how much land does this deck need exactly?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go to play it, am I going to come up on the high or low end of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm gonna fiddle around with systems, I want the systems to do the things they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But oh man, if you showed me a CCG that wasn't doing that, it would be a bad thing for me.
I mean, there have been several.
That anybody else I know plays?
Do you know anyone who plays Hearthstone?
Hearthstone has the same like random draw thing that I don't like. Like, there's still like deck tuning in Hearthstone.
It's true.
I mean, I guess evidence of this being a huge problem for me is my thing for minis games, which are a lot more discrete.
A lot more discrete. Okay, what do you mean by that? Because I actually feel like card games are a lot more discrete.
In a minis game, you can choose to take the shot. You don't know whether or not it will work. In a card game, you don't know whether or not you can take the shot.
Yes.
Okay.
If I have a system that is built around taking the shot, I want to be able to take the shot, even if it might fail. I
think of the play space as discrete, and I feel like there is so much fluidity to the just board and terrain of a minis game.
It's true. Like, when I put together a minis list, I know I will have access in any given game. I will have access to everything I put in that list.
Okay.
So there is no time I will make a list knowing that I won't get to use some part of it. I may not use it effectively, and I may not be able to apply it effectively, but I will be able to use it.
Yeah, but I feel like the use of tutoring and drawing is to mitigate whether or not you can get your toys on the board. And I think that's a lot of deck tuning, is to make sure that you can get your core combo.
But I actually disagree with that a bit. Deck tuning, in large part, at this point, is mostly about figuring out the metagame. It's mostly like, does this deck have favorable matchups against the most popular decks in the field right now? And like, how do I get it? How do I make it have those favorable matchups? And then oftentimes abandoning it when it doesn't have favorable matchups. It's weird. Right now, deck brewing seems to be figuring out how to optimally make your deck do a thing, and then seeing if that thing is good enough against what other decks are doing right now. And then if it's not, seeing if you can cut some of that for some effective hate.
Yeah. Whereas the Infinity meta is, these are the tools that are the most useful this season. How can you fit them into your list, and in what combinations? Or if you don't have them, how do you mitigate the lack? Granted, I've also bounced hard off of the War Machine meta, because the War Machine meta has entirely become, these are the top lists. How are you going to deal with them? Where there isn't really a lot of choice in the choices that you can make in your list building are pretty minor, because once you've added all of the things that you need for the machine to run, you don't really have any spare points. So it's about, can you apply the strategy? Sort of goes out of the window in favor of tactics, of just pure tactics, because you already know what lists you're going to play and what they drop well into, and you abandon them if they don't have good drops, even if they're conceptually very good.
We have any other topics that we want to discuss tonight?
I don't think so.
Next week is Wolfenstein?
I believe so.
Yep.
Should be.
And more so, we have to figure out when the hell we're actually recording.
Oh?
Aren't we having to shift it slightly for reasons?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
If you mean because I'm going to be out of town, then no.
Okay.
That's the following week. And I may just not be around for that.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like getting
probably a good idea.
I mean, I might be awake at 4 a.m. from jet lag, in which case I'll log in and you can... I don't even know what I'll have to say.
Maybe not even fully formed words.
Probably.
Anyway. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week.
All right.
Good night.
Later.
Good night.
See you.
See you.